Good morning, students. So, do your prayer first. Thank you. நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் மருதுமறியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் மருதுமறியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். நான் ஒரு நல்லாசிரியர். நான் உங்களுக்கு தாயாகவும் தந்தையாகவும் மருதுமறியாக அன்போடு கல்வியை போதிப்பேன். Students, take your social science book. Come to page number 105. Today we will see the secondary sources. So the sources which are written, so which are written properly and gave us the detailed information about the medieval India. Okay, so let us move into the lesson. So just to recall what we have discussed in our previous class. So we discussed what do you mean by sources. So sources are nothing but the supporting materials, so that may be a document or record, so in the form of evidence that help to reconstruct the past. So sources are nothing but so which gave us detailed information, that is they are the evidence so for the past, so that what happened in the past. So the sources are classified as primary sources and secondary sources. So what are all included in primary sources? Inscriptions, monuments and coins. So they are called as primary sources, so that we have discussed in our previous class. So inscription, that is nothing but writings engraved on the solid surfaces. So inscription means so the writings engraved on the solid surfaces such as rocks, stones, temple walls and also metals. So metals like copper plates, etc. Okay, so we saw about inscription. So we saw detail about inscriptions, and also primary sources includes monuments also. So monuments are nothing but the buildings. So that is the temples, palaces, mosques, tomb, minars, mirrors, etc. So they are called as monuments. So based on those monuments, so we gather information about our past history. Then finally about coins. So in coins, so the kings published their name and also the symbol. So based on the coins, so we can gather information about the economic condition of the past India. So we can gather the economic condition. So we saw about the primary sources detailedly. In today's class we will see about the secondary sources. So what are the secondary sources? So written sources included, that is secondary sources included religious literature, secular literature, books, biographies and autobiographies. So it includes religious literature, secular literature, books, biographies and autobiographies. So today we will see about these three detailedly. So first the religious literature. So that is literature which is related with the religious aspects. So what do you mean by literature? So nothing but they are the writings that is considered to be a part of art. So writing that is considered to be a work of art was called as literature. So devotional movement in South India and later in North India resulted in the development of Bhakti or devotional literature. So in India, the Bhakti movement, so which took place in the 10th, 11th century, so that resulted in the development of Bhakti or devotional literature. So in South India, Chola period, so you know about Chola, so Chola ruler. So Tamil Nadu was ruled by Chera Chola Pandya, no? So during the period of Cholas, so their period was known as the period of devotional literature, and their period only. So there are a lot of literary works, that is especially devotional literary works took place. So the works such as Kambaramayanam, Secular, Periya Puranam, Nayalayam, Divya Prabandham. So Nalayara Divya Prabandham. It was composed by 12 alvars. So who were alvars? They were the devotees of Lord Vishnu, so Vaishnavites. So they composed Nalayaram Divya Prabandham, which was compiled by Nadamuni. So compiled means, what do you mean by compile? So that is they collect information and arrange it in a list of book. So the 12 alvars wrote Nalayara Divya Prabandham, and the book was compiled by, that is the book was properly arranged and combined together by Nadamuni. So likewise Devaram, so it was composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundarar. So who were they? Appar, Sambandar, Sundarar. They were the devotees of Lord Shiva. Yeah, so they composed Devaram, and that was compiled by Nambi under Nambi. Then Manikya Vasagar's Tiruvasagam. So in Tamil you have studied. So Manikya Vasar, who wrote Tiruvasagam. So they were scripted, that is they were written during the Chola period only. Yeah, so these books, Kambaramayanam, Periya Puranam, Nalayara Divya Prabandham, Devaram, Tiruvasagam. So those literary works were, that is they are religious literary books. So they were scripted, they were written during the Chola times only. Yeah. So then Jayadeva's Gita Govindam, so which was written in 12th century, was also a follow-up of Bhakti movement in South India. That is, it was also written continuously. Okay, so it was also written after the above listed books. Yes, it was also, that is Gita Govindam, written by Jayadeva, was also written in Bhakti movement in South India. Then Kabir Das, a 15th century mystic poet, that is he was a surprising poet. Yeah, so he also had an influence on the Bhakti movement in India. So in religious literature we saw various books in South India. Apart from that, Kabir Das, so he was a mystic poet in 15th century. So he also had an influence on the Bhakti movement in North India. So literary sources, so Kambaramayanam. So who wrote Kambaramayanam? A very silly question, huh? Yeah, Kambar. So very good. So this was written during the Chola period only. Okay, so the Cholas period. So this book Kambaramayanam was written, so which is a famous literary work from Tamil. Then the Nalayara Divya Prabandham and Periya Puranam. So Nalayara Divya Prabandham. So it was it was written by 12 alvars. So try to gather the name of 12 alvars. Okay, va? So they only wrote the Nalayara Divya Prabandham, and it was compiled by Nadamuni. Then secular Periya Puranam. So Periya Puranam, it says about Lord Shiva's devotees. So Periya Puranam related with so Lord Shiva. So try to gather information about these books. So secular literature. What do you mean by secular? That is, it is not connected with religious. So till now we saw about the literary works which was related with religious work. So the secular literature, it was not related with religious work. So mostly they were related with the king or the common people. Okay. So first in this Madhura Vijayam and Amukta Malyata. So these were the poems composed by Ganga Devi and Krishna Devaraya respectively. So Madhura Vijayam and Amukta Malyata. So these were the poems composed by Ganga Devi and Krishna Devaraya. So who was Krishna Devaraya? You learned. So Krishna Devaraya, then Tenali Raman stories. Okay, so he was a king from Vijayanagara Empire. So he wrote Amukta Malyata and Ganga Devi wrote Madhura Vijayam. So these poems, so gave us a detailed information about the Vijayanagara Empire. So these poems, this work help us to gain insight into the events. So this help to gain information about the events and the individuals associated with the Vijayanagara Empire. So apart from that, Chand Bardai. So Chand Bardai, so who wrote Prithviraj Raso. So it portrays. So portrays means so that sources. Okay, so portrays meant nothing but so pictures, images in drawing or painting. So these Prithviraj Rajo's paintings and images and scriptures so gave us detailed information about the Rajput king Prithviraj. So Prithviraj was a Rajput king. So his courage, so his great courage and lack of fear was detailedly explained in Chand Bardai's Prithviraj Raso. Okay, so for pre-Islamic period, that is before the coming of Islamic Empire, the only exception was Kalhana's Raj Tarangani, which was written in 11th century. So before pre-Islamic period, that is Muslim empires began in India after 11th century. So before that, so we have the information about Indian subcontinent only given by Kalhana's Raj Tarangani. Kalhana's Raj Tarangani. So there were no Indian accounts about the Turkish invasion of India. So Turkey, they were belong to Muslim rulers, so they invaded India. Yeah, so during the time there is no Indian authors to wrote about their invasion. Yeah, so there is no Indian authors to wrote about the Turkish invasion of India. So before the pre-Islamic periods, that is the coming of Islam, there is an exception. So there is a book written by Kalhana Rajadarangani in 11th century. So that is the only book, so that gave the detailed information about the condition of India before the entry of Islam Empire, before the beginning of Islam Empire. So what was the situation of India? It was explained by the Kalhana's Rajadarangani. So books, biographies and autobiographies. So let us ask me some questions. Yeah. So name some religious literary works. Yeah, Kambaramayanam, Periya Puranam, Nalayara Divya Prabandham, Tiruvasagam. So who wrote Tiruvasagam? Yeah, very good, Manika Vasagar. Then we saw about the secular literature. So name some secular literary works. Yeah, Madara Vijayam, Amuktamalyata, Prithviraj Raso and Rajadarangani. Yeah, so who wrote Prithviraj Raso? Chand Bardai. So whose king so was explained in the Chand Bardai's Prithviraj Raso? So which king was explained? Yeah, Prithviraj Raso. So Prithviraj, so who belongs to Rajput dynasty. Yeah, so that book explaining about his value, that is his courage. Okay, he was explained in the Prithviraj Raso. Okay. Then books, biographies and autobiographies. Okay, so books, biographies, autobiographies. What do you mean by autobiography? Yeah, nothing but so a person's life written by himself. Yeah, so a person who write his own history was called as autobiography. Yeah, so Minhaj us Siraj. Yeah, so Minhaj us Siraj. So from this lesson onwards, you are going to learn a lot of Muslim names. Yeah, so try to understand the pronunciation. Yeah, so just to listen the words carefully. Yeah, Minhaj us Siraj. So patronized by the Sultan Nasiruddin Mahmud of slave dynasty. Yeah, so Minhaj us Siraj. So who was supported? So who was supported by the Sultan? So Sultan means the king. Yeah, so in Islam they called the king as Sultan. Yeah, so the Sultan belongs to the slave dynasty. So one of the dynasty which ruled India. Yeah, so the name. So Nasiruddin Muhammad, so who supported Minhaj us Siraj, wrote Tabaqat-i Nasri. So again, so Tabaqat-i Nasri. So this was the book written by Minhaj us Siraj. Yeah. So the compendium deals with the period from the conquest of Muhammad of Ghori to AD 1260. So that book, so Tabaqat-i Nasri, that deals with the information about the conquest of Muhammad of Ghori. That is, Muhammad of Ghori conquered India in the year 1192 AD. Okay, so 1192 AD. Yeah, so Muhammad of Ghori conquered India in the year 1192 AD. So from his period to 1260 period. So the information was detailed explained in that book. Yeah, so that book was detailedly explaining the compendium. So compendium means a collection of detailed information about a particular subject, especially in a book. Yeah, so compendium means a collection of detailed information about a particular subject, especially in a particular book. Yeah, so that gave a detailed information about the conquest of Muhammad of Ghori, that is from 1192 AD to 1260. Yeah, that is 1192 AD to 1260 AD. Yeah, so the compendium was named after his patron. Yeah, so it was named after his patron. Then in 11th century, in 13th century, Hasan Nizami, a migrant from Ghazni. So Ghazni, it was now in Afghanistan. See, a place. Ghazni was a place in Afghanistan. So from that, migrant. So migrant means so those who left a place and enter into a new place. So Hasan Nizami, so was written. So then Taj ul Masir. So Taj ul Masir towards the end of Iltutmish's rule. Yeah, so Taj ul Masir was written by Hasan Nizami, a migrant from Ghazni. So it was written at the end of Iltutmish Rus. Iltutmish means, so he was a king, so who belongs to a slave dynasty. Okay. Then it provides information about Qutbuddin Aibak and is considered the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate. Yeah, so Taj ul Masir, written by Hasan Nizami, so gave a detailed information about Qutbuddin Aibak. So he was also a ruler belonged to slave dynasty. Okay. So it gave us a detailed information and it was considered the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate. Okay. So Tajul Masir was considered as the first official history of Delhi Sultanate. Then Ziauddin Barni. Yes, Ziauddin Barni. He was a courtier of Muhammad Tughlaq. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq. So who belongs to Tughlaq dynasty. So the dynasty which ruled India later of slave dynasty. Yeah, so Ziauddin Barni, a courtier of Muhammad Tughlaq, wrote Tariq-e-Firoz Sagi, so which deals with the history of Delhi Sultanate from Ghiyasuddin Balban, who belongs to slave dynasty, to the early years of the reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. So who belongs to Tughlaq dynasty. That is his book. So Ziauddin Barni's book Tariq-e-Firoz Sagi gave us a detailed information about the slave dynasty and also Tughlaq dynasty. Yeah, so he wrote the books. So he wrote the history of Delhi Sultanates from Ghiyasuddin Balban to the early years of reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Then Ferishta, so who wrote Tariq-e-Firishta, that is written in 16th century, that deals with the history of the rise of the Mughal power in India. So Mughal power. So you are going to learn about these dynasties and all in your classes later. Okay, va? So just to recall the name and books. Okay, va? So first Minhaj-us-Siraj, so patronized by the Sultan Naziruddin Mahmud of slave dynasty, who wrote Tabaqat-e-Nasri. Yes, Tabaqat-e-Nasri. Minhaj-us-Siraj, so supported by Sultan Naziruddin Muhammad of slave dynasty, wrote the book Tabaqat-e-Nasri, so which gave us information about the conquest of Muhammad of Ghori to AD 1260. Okay. Then in 13th century, Hasan Nizami, a migrant from Ghazni. Yes, Hasan Nizami, a migrant from Ghazni. So his book Taj ul Masir, towards the end of Iltutmish rule, which provides information about Qutbuddin Aibak. So it is considered as the first official history of the Delhi Sultanate. Yeah. So which is considered as the first official history of Delhi Sultanate. Yeah, Tajul Masir. Yeah, so Tajul Masir considered as the official history of Delhi Sultanate. Then Ziauddin Barni. Yes, Ziauddin Barni. So who was a courtier from Muhammad Tughlaq. So wrote Tariq-e-Firoz Sagi. So which gave us information about the history of Delhi Sultanate from Ghiyasuddin Balban to the early years of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Then finally about Mughal Empire. So what gave us the detailed information about the rise of Mughal power in India? Yeah, Feristas Tariq-e-Firishta. Yeah, so Feristas Tariq-e-Firishta, which was written in 16th century. Okay. So these are the biographies, so written during the medieval India. In the 16th century, Emperor Babur Nama, so Babur, so who began the Mughal rule in India. So he was the founder of Mughal rule in India. So he wrote Babur-nama and Abul Fasal, so who wrote Aini Akbari and Akbarnama, which provided detailed information about these two emperors. So Babur's Babur-nama and Abul Fasal's Aini Akbari and Akbarnama, so which gave us detailed information about these two emperors. So who were those emperors? Yeah, Babur and Akbar, so who belonged to Mughal dynasty. Yeah, so their history, so their period was detailed explained in Babur-nama and Aini Akbari and Akbar-nama. Then in 17th century, Jahangir, so he was also a Mughal ruler, so he wrote his memoir. So memoir means so historical account or biography written from personal knowledge. Yeah, so memoir means so historical account or a biography written from personal knowledge. So Jahangir, so who wrote his memoir Tusuk-i-Jahangiri, so throwing light on the period, so throwing a lot of light. So Jahangir's book gave us information about his period. Then apart from autobiographies of emperors, Tabaqat-i-Akbari, so authored by Nizamuddin Ahmad. Yes, apart from the ruler's autobiography, Tabaqat-i-Akbari, so which was written by Nizamuddin Ahmad, is considered as the reliable than the exaggerated account. So reliable means, so it was a very good account. So when compared to the ruler's account, so which was large and contains unaccounted information, so which contains more information which we don't record. So the rulers wrote a large events. So they wrote the history based on their point of view. So they praised themselves. So that's why it was called as exaggerated account. But the Nizamuddin Ahmad, so who wrote Tabaqat-i-Akbari, so gave us a good information. So believable information about the Mughal rulers. Okay, so which gave us the information about the Mughal empire. Okay, similarly Badani Constantine work was Tariq-i-Badani. So Tariq means history. Yes, in Urdu Tariq means history. So Badani's outstanding work Tariq-i-Badani, which was published in 1595, which was written in 1595. So this work contains 3 volumes. So this work includes 3 volumes. So in one volume he explained about Akbar's administration, particularly about his religious policy. So in one volume of Tariq-i-Badani, so he explained about Akbar's administration. So he critically explained about Akbar's administration, particularly of his religious policy. Okay, students, can you tell a few names about the rulers which you have seen till now? So can you tell any 2 names? That's enough. So till now you have seen some the Islam emperors now. So can you tell any few names? So just 2 or 3. That's enough. Very good. So I will tell the ruler name which we have seen. So Nasiruddin Muhammad. So first Nasiruddin Muhammad, then Qutbuddin Aibak, Iltutmish, Muhammad of Ghori, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Ghiyasuddin Balban, Babur, Akbar, Jahangir. So these were the rulers. So they were the emperors, so who belongs to Islam empire. So we saw about that during their period only. So some of the books written, autobiographies, biographies written, so which gave us information about their empire. So the persons, so the authors written about their life history and also the situation in India. So from their books we gather information about the history of medieval India. So they belongs to Indian subcontinent. So now we will see about the foreign authors. So foreign visitors, so who came from different countries to India and recorded their events that happened in India. So based on their books also we compiled our history. We chronologically arranged our historical events. So let us see the foreign authors. So foreign visitors who gave us a detailed information about India. So in that we first saw about Marco Polo. So he was from Venice. So Venice, a part of Italy. So he visited India when the Pandya kingdom became the leading power in Tamil Nadu in 13th century. So Marco Polo, a Venetian traveler, so visited when the Pandya kingdom in Tamil Nadu was leading in 13th century. So Marco Polo visited twice in Kayal, so which was a port city. So Marco Polo visited Kayal, a port city which is presently in Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. So it was full of ships from Arabia and China. So he saw in Kayal a port, so which was full of ships from Arabia and China. So Marco Polo tells us that he himself came by a ship from China. So he told us that he came to India from China through such a ship. Okay. So according to Marco Polo, thousands of horses were imported into southern India by sea from Arabia and Persia. So he wrote, so he told that thousands of horses, so that were imported into South India by sea from Arabia and Persia. So during that time, the horses from Arabia were in great demand. So people from the Indian subcontinent, so like the horses, so they want the horses from Arabia. So Arabian horses were very famous during that time. So till now also Arabian horses were famous. So Marco Polo, a Venetian traveler, so who came to Kayal twice. So during the Pandya kingdom, so during the Pandya kingdom, so he visited twice in Kayal. So he was 2 times in Kayal, a port city in Tamil Nadu. So he told that thousands of horses were imported into South India by sea from Arabia and Persia. Al-Biruni, so in 11th century, accompanied by Muhammad of Ghazni. So already we saw Ghazni, so which was a place in Afghanistan. So the ruler there was called as Mahmud. He was one of the ruler in Ghazni, so who attacked India several times. So Al-Biruni so accompanied Muhammad of Ghazni in one of his campaigns and stayed in India for 10 years. So Al-Biruni, so who came to India along with Muhammad of Ghazni, so stayed in India for 10 years. So the most accurate account of Mahmud Somnath expedition is that of Al-Biruni. So Muhammad of Ghazni so once attacked the famous temple at Somnath, a place in Gujarat. So Muhammad Ghazni attacked that temple, and that temple expedition was detailedly explained by Al-Biruni. So he was a learned man and a scholar. So he was a well educated and a scholar. He traveled all over India trying to understand India and her people. So he was a scholar and a good educated person. So he traveled all over India and tried to gather information and tried to understand India and her people. So for that he learned Sanskrit and studied the philosophy of India. So Al-Biruni learned Sanskrit and studied the philosophy of India. In his book Tawfiq-e-Hind, Al-Biruni discussed the Indian conditions, system of knowledge, social norms and religion. So in his book Tawfiq-e-Hind, he discussed the Indian conditions, system of knowledge, social norms and religion. Then Ibn Battuta. So last we saw about Marco Polo, a Venetian traveler, then Al-Biruni, so who came along with Muhammad of Ghazni. Now Ibn Battuta, so who came to India in 14th century. So he was an Arab-born Morocco scholar. So Morocco, so which was a country in northwest of Africa. So he traveled from Morocco right across North Africa, then to Egypt, and then to Central Asia and to India. So so he started his voyage from Morocco. So from Morocco he moved to North Africa, then and from there he moved to Egypt, and from Egypt he traveled to Central Asia, and from Central Asia he reached India. His travelogue Rila, the travels, contain rich details about the people and the countries he visited. So he gave us detailed information about the people of the countries he visited. Then according to him, Egypt was rich then because of the whole of the Indian trade with the West passed through it. So according to him, Egypt was one of the richest country during that time. So because India's trade with the West was through Egypt only. Then Ibn Battuta tells us the caste in India and the practice of sati. So Ibn Battuta tells about the caste system in India and also the practice of sati. So sati, so nothing but, so during the medieval period, so in India, if the husband of any woman died means, so the women were also pulled into the funeral fire. So the funeral fire of their dead husband. So that was called as sati. So he gave us detailed information about sati. Then we learn from him that Indian merchants were carrying on a brisk trade in foreign ports and Indian ships in the seas. So he gave us information about the Indian merchants also. Then he described the city of Delhi as a vast and magnificent city. So he detailed explained about that city of Delhi was a vast one and was a magnificent one. So those were the days when Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred his capital from Delhi to Devagiri, so now called as Dawladabad in south, so converting this city into a desert. So Ibn Battuta so says that the city of Delhi was a vast and magnificent one. So during that time only, the Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq, so who belongs to Tughlaq dynasty, so transferred his capital and thus make that magnificent city into a desert. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq so make the city, magnificent city Delhi into a desert by converting his capital from Delhi to Devagiri. So just to recall the name and books. Okay, so first Minhaj us Siraj, so patronized by the Sultan Naziruddin Mahmud of slave dynasty, who wrote Tabakat-i-Nasri. Yes, Tabakat-i-Nasri. Minhaj us Siraj, so supported by Sultan Naziruddin Muhammad of. Then in the south, Vijayanagar Empire had many foreign visitors who left behind their detailed account of the state. Yes, in south, Vijayanagar Empire had many foreign visitors, so who gave us detailed account of the state. An Italian named Niccolo Conti came in 1420. So in Italian named Niccolo Conti, who came in 1420. Then Abdur Razak came from Hart, that is the court of Great Khan in Central Asia. So Abdul Razak so came from Hart. So that is Hart means here the court of Great Khan in Central Asia. So in Central Asia, so there was the ruler called as Great Khan. So from his court, a person, so Abdul Razak, so visited India, that is visited Vijayanagar Empire in 1443 AD. Then Domingo Paez, a Portuguese traveler, visited the city in 1522. So Vijayanagar Empire was visited by Domingo Paez, a Portuguese traveler, in 1522. So all of them recorded their observations, which were very useful to us to know the glory of Vijayanagar Empire. So who were the persons, foreign authors who visited Vijayanagar Empire means, so first Niccolo Conti, Abdur Razak, then Domingo Paez. So they gave us the detailed information about the glory of Vijayanagar Empire. Okay students, so till now we saw about the secondary sources of medieval India. Okay, so we saw about the secondary sources of medieval India, so which includes religious literature, secular literature, then biography, autobiography and books, and also finally about the travelers, so the foreigners so who visited India. So just to try to recall the names we have studied. So there are a lot of names we have studied, so just to try to recall it. So just to write those authors name and books name in a separate sheet or in a book, so separate page in your classwork note. So try to write those authors name and also their book. Okay, so their names are new to you. Okay, so try to pronunciation, and if you have doubt, so just to contact me. Okay students, finish your homework. So in next class we will see a new lesson. So thank you. So have a nice day.